Welcome to Experience Oldsmar, a podcast created by and for those who love this special place. I'm your host, Deb Vitrelli, broadcasting from the top of Tampa Bay in beautiful downtown Oldsmar. With the hurricane season now here, it seems appropriate we would invite Oldsmar resident Mike Boylan to join us today. You may know him from Mike's weather page. Mike is a Florida native. Growing up in Pinellas County, he attended Curlew Creek Elementary, Palm Harbor Middle School, and Eastlake High School. He graduated in 1996 with a marketing degree from the University of South Florida. Go Bulls. During that time, Mike took an interest in the internet and website design. Being a weather fan his entire life and experiencing the memorable 2004 active hurricane season, he decided to create a website that would make it easier to track the tropics, and SpaghettiModels.com was born. After joining Facebook in 2009, his audience has expanded globally and now reaches over 1 million followers. His website clocks in millions each year and is accredited by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, National Weather Service, FEMA, and Pinellas County Emergency Operations. Additional endorsements include the Hurricane Hunters, the Weather Channel, various government officials, and local meteorologists. Most importantly, Mike is proud to call Oldsmar his home. Welcome, Mike.
Well, hey, thank you for having me. And yeah, hurricane season's here.
And joining us also is...
Oh, this is Hunter.
Aw, Hurricane Hunter's here.
The real Hurricane Hunter.
Nice.
He's my storm chasing buddy.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing those stories.
Yep, we're breeding him very well.
Oh, good. So I know the visits to your website and Facebook are just phenomenal. So again, thank you for putting Oldsmar on the map. Internationally, too.
I love Oldsmar.
So your Facebook page is Mike's weather page. Yep. So you broadcast daily from there?
Yes, we do daily lives at 9:19 in the morning. We usually about an hour long. I ramble a lot. They call me a rambling man. But we have a lot of followers around the world, down in the Caribbean, believe it or not. Cancun, people chime in from all the way up from Nova Scotia, Bermuda.
Wow.
So it's a family. It's a weather family.
Yeah.
And Florida obviously is my huge crowd.
Yeah.
Obviously, living here.
Well, what's cool, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you go on, you follow that storm completely.
Oh,
you're giving everybody the heads up. Hey, in Carolina, you need to start preparing. You need to do this.
Yeah. When I first started this, I was selfishly only cared about Florida. And then I've learned over the years, I have people watching in Texas and
sure.
Carolinas. And I'll be honest, I didn't even know half the islands in the Caribbean or Puerto Rico. I didn't know where that was, Jamaica. So I got people chiming in now from everywhere. And it really means a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because some folks, it's their only source of news.
Yeah.
Virgin Islands, huge following down there.
Wow.
British and both U.S. and British. So, yeah, it's really neat to know that social media can be used in that aspect. Way. Yeah, a positive way.
In a good way, yes, for once.
Yeah, it's been
not that it's not good, but yeah.
It's been good for me.
Yeah. And obviously your website, SpaghettiModels.com. That's very interesting to dive into that.
Oh, it's got everything.
Yeah.
Spaghetti models. That's the thing I fell in love with, are all those little noodles that point.
That's why they're called?
Yep, spaghetti models. And a lot of meteorologists don't like putting them out there because, you might see one point into Oldsmar, even though 99% are going, let's say, to Upper Gulf.
Yeah.
But when you have that one random outlier, everybody's heart rate,
starts jumping a little.
Yeah. And to be honest, we all get a little bit excited with the season in good way and bad way.
Yeah. It can become addicting, that's for sure.
Oh, it does. Every couple hours, a new model comes out, and it's like, what did it do now?
What's your favorite model, by the way?
Oh, gosh. Well, Euro you hear about on the news all the time. Last year did terrible.
Oh.
So I fell in love with this model, the Icon, and it's a German model. And the Canadians have a model called the CMC. There's about 20, 30 models. But I'm not a Euro bandwagon guy. GFS is the American model. It's doing pretty good.
They sound like rap band. Or
rap
singer.
Yeah. There are so
GFS.
many. Yeah. It's some 90s song. But yeah,
some boy band.
Well, and the key is you got to know them all, and you got to spot trends and know which ones to believe and which ones not. So it could be very confusing. There's a lot of bad data that gets put out. The worst thing that happens, you get that one random run of Cat 3 hitting Tampa, and somebody will share it, and it'll get every hit, every like in the Facebook world, it'll get millions of views, and all of a sudden panic sets in.
Oh.
And then the next 4 or 5 hours later, it'll show a completely different scenario. But the panic's already been out there.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that the meteorologists are trying to stop is social media spreading false information.
Good.
And, what I try to do is put it all out there, let people make their own decisions. I don't knee-jerk reaction and you know get people all worked up unless I believe it. So far, it's worked.
Which is even more reason why that now that we're in the heart of hurricane season is there are 2 vital zones all Floridians should really know about. And as a coastal community, all of Oldsmar should be aware of. And these are the evacuation zone and the flood zone. So can you describe each of these zones and kind of explain why they are so important to our residents?
Well, flood zone is a year-round issue. Flood zones are set by FEMA. It's what insurance rates are established by. That you might hear 1 in 100 year floods, 1 in 500 year floods. It's not necessarily deals with hurricanes. It's more just we're low-lying areas because of development. Different areas are prone to flood more. So knowing your flood zone is good because you're going to need it for insurance, basically, more than anything. Evacuation zones is completely different. Evacuation zones are all only geared to a Pacific storm.
Yeah.
And knowing your zone is important, but evacuations are ordered based on storm strengths, storm surge predictions. So like where I live, I'm in a C, and there's certain parameters that have to be met in order to be evacuated from where I'm at. So an A, B, C is obviously different at X. So knowing those zones is really important because it's based on an evacuation zone is based on the severity of a storm and expected storm surge.
Yes.
So it has nothing to do with the flooding of a low-lying area. It's that storm surge, which could be 20 foot.
Scary,
20 foot,
coming at you.
Yeah, it's taller than this building. And like they say, you can hide from the wind, but you got to run from the water.
Well, 100 years ago this year was the 1921 hurricane.
Yep.
And that water, from what I'm told, came up 11 feet up into this building we're sitting in right now. So, yeah, all the residents gathered up onto the second floor up here just to watch the water go
100
by.
years. That was a
storm.
Category 3. Mm-hmm. And it was in October, I believe.
It was,
which is our time.
Yes, it is.
Our time, which we're nearing now, is our end of the season is when we should really be preparing more here in Oldsmar. Like the season starts in June, everybody gets worked up, but really Florida has to worry about late season. And what we saw with Zeta last year was November. So storms like that form down in the Caribbean, and they come up and they start to turn with cold fronts. That's why Tampa's got a bigger risk later in the season because middle season storms start in Africa, and for them to stop dead and turn right back into the West Coast is kind of rare. Irma was a little of an outlier.
Irma was huge.
Yeah, it was huge, and it did impact the West Coast of Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, late season storms we got to worry about.
Well, yeah, and the fuel for the hurricanes obviously is
the what?
The fuel for the hurricanes.
It's ocean.
Yep.
And that's
that
peak
temperature.
Yep. And June 21st is first day of summer, longest day of the year, which is fascinating to me because every day past June 21st it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. But the equator, the sun alignment is cooking that water.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the water temperatures in October are some of the hottest of the year. And a little fascinating tidbit is it's not the sea surface temperature that fuels hurricanes. It's the ocean heat content. And that's how hot the water goes below the surface.
Wow.
So you might be thinking it's 80 degrees at Clearwater Beach because we just had a cold front come through, but below the fuel is still hot. And that's what fuels the thunderstorms, the upwelling of the water.
Interesting. I always thought it'd be cooler on the bottom than it is on top.
Yeah, well,
but it's
in
the
the season,
yeah.
And we have these things called loop eddies, which are an amazing phenomenon that starts from the Gulf Stream. And the Gulf Stream comes up from the Caribbean, comes around on the east side of Florida. But throughout the year, they start meandering up into the middle Gulf. They break off, and they start spiraling in the Gulf. And they're basically little rivers of warm water inside the Gulf of Mexico.
Wow.
And it was proven that Katrina and Michael and Harvey, the storms fed off of those.
Oh, my gosh.
So they're actually rivers of warmer water that just flow naturally from the breaking of the Gulf Stream.
Wow.
And that's extra fuel.
Oh, man, that's
Harvey,
scary.
Harvey was a category 4.
Yeah.
And it was a huge rain of, they had 50, 60 inches of rain in Texas.
Jeez.
And going back to your flood maps, flood zone there with Harvey was a little different than surge maps because
Yeah.
that was your 1 in 500 year floods happened. So, but a lot of people didn't have flood insurance because they think, what's the chances? 1 in 500.
You never think, but
Yeah.
it might happen. So I know something you've recently enjoyed doing is storm chasing.
Yes.
And I remember watching your live video during Hurricane Irma in 2017, where you were out at Olds Park in Oldsmar and recording the storm surge, sucking the water out of Tampa Bay. It was phenomenal.
Yes,
it was mesmerizing. Mother Nature at her finest. So what other historic weather events have you been up close and personal with?
Well, so I flew to Texas last year. We went to Hurricane Delta, and it was a very eye-opening to be there during a storm and see the destruction immediately following. We drove around after it made landfall and seeing power lines down, seeing surge waters coming up over the roads we were on, just seeing destruction instantly after a storm was seeing landscape changed instantly, and seeing the power outages and how they just happen so fast. I took a ride back to where Hurricane Laura hit 6 months later in Lake Charles. That was probably the most. I didn't technically storm chase that storm, but I went back to where Hurricane Laura made landfall at Lake Charles, and the devastation 6 months later was something like out of a World War III. You could not imagine what these folks are still living through. Debris on the side of the roads, roofs down. So, but yeah, for me, the storm chase is taking people along for the ride.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get. I remember one time there was a power line right across the middle of the road, and I didn't have time to stop, and it was just like, I'm sure curse words went flying, and we hit it. Nothing happened. I remember one time a car was coming the wrong way at us on Interstate 10, scared the out of me.
Oh my gosh!
Our most scary story probably was Hurricane Zeta, and we were in Louisiana, and we were parked under some power lines, and all the people live were saying, "Mike, you got to get out of there! You got to get out of there!" And we were about an hour away from landfall. And the power lines were shaking, and I was on my camera. I said, "Yeah, I think we probably got to go find somewhere else." Well, I fast forwarded the camera because in 2 minutes I turned the car around and I ended up pointing to the same building we were at, but at a different angle. The transformer blew up. All the power lines caught fire. They fell down from the pole exactly where we were parked.
Oh my gosh!
The ground caught on fire.
Oh my Lord!
And it was 2 minutes from when I decided we should probably not be here.
Ooh.
And
thank you, baby Jesus, that you listened to him.
I don't know, but I have it all in video, and that was really crazy.
Goodness gracious!
Yeah, it was, and it all happened live.
Oh. Well, speaking of
lightning,
my goodness gracious, lightning
woke up
round.
Hunter.
Oh, poor Hunter got scared. So, Mike, surf or turf?
Both.
Both.
But if I had to pick, it'd be turf.
Turf.
Yeah.
Good cow.
Yeah, I love a good steak.
So Gatorade or Bang to wash that down?
It depends on what day or what time of the day.
Time of the day.
If I have too much adult beverage, a good Gatorade in the mornings is awesome. But I need to live with caffeine, so I'll take Bang every day.
Bang every day.
Yeah,
I
need a lot of caffeine.
And finally, tornado or hurricane?
Oh, hurricane.
All right.
Tornado,
That's a no-brainer.
You have no time to prepare.
No.
You don't know they're coming.
You got that
we
right.
We could have it happening right now.
Yeah.
Hurricane, there's no reason to be afraid because you have weeks sometimes to prepare.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time to watch them evolve. So.
Cool. Well, thank you, Mike and Hunter, for being our guest on our podcast today.
Good time.
So be sure to follow and like the City of Oldsmar on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also Mike's weather page. Please find our list of podcast segments. Visit experienceoldsmar.com. Special thanks to our awesome engineer, Mark McGinley. I'm your host, Deb Vitrelli. Until next time, I invite you to check out all the great things you can do to truly experience Oldsmar.